and stuff like that. And I think bioregions is a good way to try and organize those. So I'm here to learn a lot more about bioregions. And I think I'm already a part of a community that might be working with you, Jenny. So I think it's going to be a really nice integration. And I like your leadership style. So I'm in for a treat, I imagine. So thanks for inviting me.
Thank you so much for coming, Mark. Yeah, consider us even. There's no concern here, but thank you. I appreciate your participation. And obviously, however we can work together going forward. Okay, so I'm going to go quickly through, because I can hear some people who joined us from the organizing standpoint. I'm going to back up, Colin, if you don't mind, and just go through this presentation again, but really briefly. So for those that participated last time, some of this will be a repeat for you, but luckily Colin, I need to get access to sharing, please. Hopefully for the ones that did participate last meeting, you'll see some simplification, some updates in this presentation, how it fits together better. And then I'm going to give you all a form. In fact, I'll do that while, actually, am I set up here? If I'm set up, we'll get started. Yes, I am. Okay.
I'll put the link in the chat while you're doing this.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, so what's going to come out of this update of this presentation is I've generated a Google intake form that Colin is putting in the chat for you to fill out. So the ask is to feedback first and foremost. It's a draft, so it's okay if you don't like some questions. Please let us know how they should be reframed or whatever. Any questions around why we're asking these questions are helpful. I'm going to go through the actual form itself in a minute too, but quickly. So this presentation is intended to organize. So it's an invitation and support presentation. As Colin was saying, we're working on our messaging so we can get this down to like a 3-minute presentation. But right now I'm just walking through it briefly with you. I haven't, Alex and I will be updating this from a gravity well perspective for probably in the next month or so. We'll have that message out, that welcome message out. So what I presented last time was we're looking to build local returns by making sure we're setting up the right leaders in the right areas with the right expectations, having the right conversation, measuring in the same way, and getting that local power, that local return that we can measure. So the first area we look at in this is looking at the structure and the structure, system, forces, and powers. So I walked through this last time. This is the structure we're in, this global complex industrial short-term linear growth dominant system that's serving billionaires. So the system that serves that structure is we have a system of laws, we have a system of owners, we have a system of communication, we have businesses, we have health and education, and then we have our organizations in that system. So, but those
Jenny, sorry to interrupt. Can you just make your screen full screen?
Sure, thank you. Okay, thank you. So we have forces though, and so these are the ways on this half of the coin. So I put the coin in here. This is just to remind us we're trying to balance the power in the world. So we have this 1%, this structure I mentioned, this complex system structure on the right, on the left, and we're trying to move the power over to the right. So that's to the individuals. So in that effort, we have forces that we can shift. So for example, yes, we have laws, but we also have laws of the land. The ecology can override the laws that we have in place in our system. We have owners, but we have buyers on the other side of that coin. Media, but we have networks, businesses, workforce, you get the idea. So then on the far left is where we're on the far right. Sorry, I'm really bad with left and right, is what we're trying to build. So we're trying to build power in things that serve us simply, locally, in community, that are long-term driven. They offer those multiple returns. It's built through democracy, and it's a leadership-driven exercise. So it's not on position, but on leadership skill. And then within that, once we know what people's power type or power is, we want to know what type of power it is. Do they agree with us? Do they disagree with us? Are they a leader in a structured organization, or are they choosing areas where they're being leaders? So those are the ways we're trying to help understand people as they come into our view. And we're encouraging other organizations to think about people in this way too. So this is what this Google form is that I've provided you. So where, as Colin was saying, we're doing this in the regions, in the sub-regions, in the regions, and in your local communities. So what's happening? We're seeking more leaders. So every conversation we're having, every one of these meetings, each of you is a leader in this group, and we send you away and understand how we're leading together going forward. So that's on location across the pillars, as I mentioned, those structures or those, yes, the system that holds up the structure that we have in place in all those areas. So now this is what I've updated from the last time. So again, the conversation you're having is about you and your community. So I'm trying to center all the conversations. You'll notice in the Google Doc or form that I gave you guys, it's structured in you. What is your issue? How are we helping you? Do you agree with what we're doing, et cetera, et cetera. So we're centering that on the person. And actually this came from Mike. Thank you. Hat tip to Mike Klein on that. So with that, here's the structure of the conversation. Now, this conversation that you're having with anybody when you're trying to organize them is also the same structure of this feedback loop that we're trying to achieve with each other. So we've gone through the first 4. I'm just going to flip back to that slide. You can see those colors, these 4. And now we're in this. Sorry, I'm just going to advance one. So I'm structuring those in these questions. So the idea being that intake form can be thought of as like a phone call as well. You're calling somebody up, you're getting their information, you're helping understand how they fit in what we're doing in this way. And so that's what this form offers, is each of these principles built into that form. And then we're going to show the next steps I'll show you in this presentation is the feedback loop and the way that we're measuring outcomes. So charting progress, as I was saying, this is that feedback loop. So we're looking for leaders, demonstrated leadership, as I was saying. So we're going to be following up with communications. This is the key point to the work we're doing, is making sure that we're communicating and collaborating and moving forward. People that connect people, people that deliver results, people that support people, people that build membership, they volunteer, they educate, they ask questions, and they can oppose officials, as we have with Alberta Resistance and Enough is Enough, for example. So these are the ways we're trying to find your power and make sure that we're measuring your leadership ability. And being very transparent about it. So as we're doing in this conversation, we're presenting our way of organizing, and we're making that available to each of you for your input. So it gives you that democracy, the transparency piece, and an expectation of delivery on both sides. And so lastly, we want to make sure we're measuring success. So I talked about this last time. How are we measuring success? Well, we're seeing our numbers increase. There's more people participating. People are becoming educated. I'm going to get into some of the work we're planning on doing with the Gravity Well going forward. We have plans. We're actually thinking about doing regenerative work. We have projects. We have people on the ground doing project work, and then we're seeing those local returns. So we're actually seeing those 3P benefits, the environment, people, and the economy moving more in a local return. So that's just an overview of what we're after. This is our collective intelligence that will get us there. So that's why we're looking to you for your input and feedback. Take this, use it, tell a friend, and tell us where you want to lead. Thanks. So we do have time before Colin goes on to the next item for anyone that wants to. Oh, actually, I will. Sorry, I'm going to share my screen one more time.
Well, while Jenny's doing that, does anybody have any questions or comments on what Jenny just presented? If hearing none, I'll pass it back to Jenny.
Thanks. Okay, so I just wanted to quickly go over this form so you're not surprised by it. So the ask of each of you is to please take this away. Think about it from your individual standpoint or from your organization standpoint. it walks through some questions that we're looking from you. Your email is already something we have, but if you want to offer your phone number, you're welcome to. We want you to tell us like any self-identifiers you want us to know about you. We want you to weigh in on our mission statement, our objectives. Those are those first couple questions. And then section 2, we want to know about you. So we're trying to understand these personal power capabilities that you have for where you're located, what your interests are. Do you use your purchasing power? Do you engage in media, social or traditional? Your website organization, if you're in any professional associations, if you're in healthcare or you're in any associations with healthcare, same thing with education. Are you a part of any self-selected organizations? Please let us know. And think about this in terms of the other organizations here in you organizing your lists. This is a way to understand how we can grab people for specific action items going forward. So let's say we wanted to do let's talk about the coal mining thing because it came up here. We want there to be a public protest about the coal mining because it's God forbid it gets approved again. We would have an advocacy sheet ready that we could push back to the lists, your members that want to push advocacy things out. If they're social media people, you have a social media list you can push to. And we would provide, I'm helping organize this with some other groups, the Energy Circle that Mike knows me from, is to build a template so that anytime somebody has an issue, whether it be one of you in this group, you can provide it to us in a specific template, and we can talk about how we can push it out through our network, through our lists and adjacent organization lists. So again, the idea being, I'll have a list of people that are on social media. Alberta Resistance will have a list of people that are on social media, but our lists don't need to see each other. We just need to identify those people on our lists and then get them out doing the things that we want them to do. So it's a way of sharing information without giving away any personal information about people. So that's why you'll see these questions. What are the areas of interest or activities for you? So we want to know how they want to be involved. So for example, like I said, the social media posts, or if they want to organize workforces, this is, say it's one of our collaborators in a watershed. They've got a project they want to do. That's how we want to know how they're coming into this. As people have said, local food system work, we want to know about that. And again, we're not giving your name away to anybody, but we're helping if somebody wants to know about people that are in this, we can push to our memberships and say, hey, you know about this, so-and-so has a question for you. And efficiently you can respond to it because this intake form will be consistent. That's the idea. So I hope you see that this is just a way of us to start understanding each other's personal power and how we can start identifying the things that we're already doing in our lives to be able to make change or organize change quite rapidly together. So it shouldn't take you more. I mean, if you're being thoughtful with it, it might take you 10 or 15 minutes, but it should be quick. And again, we're just looking for your feedback and edits at this point. But the idea being that we're organizing ourselves in this way. We're looking to organize with Alberta Resistance in this way, with Enough is Enough in this way. The Coalition for Regulatory Reform that the AWA has organized, I would like them to organize in this way. There's some other groups I'm not thinking of, but so if we all make an effort of organizing our lists in a similar fashion, it'll be easier to draw action on specific issues as they come up, is the intent. Or scheduled for that matter, if we have line of sight to that. So thanks, that's my update I wanted to provide from last time. So that presentation has gone into a form that I'm hoping that you guys can provide feedback on. So any questions on that before we move forward to the next item?
Hi, Jenny. I do have a question. How soon are you expecting the feedback?
Thank you for asking that. I think we're going to do another one of these in 3 weeks, Colin. Is that right? Our cadence?
Yeah. At this point, we're we're still figuring it all out, but yeah, sometime in the next 3 weeks.
Yeah, so yeah, in the next couple weeks, if you could get it done, would be great. I mean, the sooner the better, obviously. I'll incorporate changes as I receive them. But thank you very much for asking that.
Okay, thank you. Because I think it really makes sense what I discussed with colleagues the last time. I told him that it's really necessary that we have this kind of streamline activities so we know how we can impute from our end, like each of us can know what we're contributing and bringing to the table. Like this really helps. Thanks a lot. Well done, guys.
Thank you. I'm glad you appreciate it. And yeah, more feedback is welcome.
Yeah, just building on what Sadia said is, and just thank you for all your introductions, and they just show how diverse everybody's experience and interests and work is, and that's where the strength lies. But the challenge is, how do we organize that in a meaningful way that resonates with each unique individual? And Rebecca, mentioned the soul work. I truly believe that we all have like a deep down purpose that we want to enact in the world, and they're unique to us. And yeah, we don't want to prescribe exactly what we're doing. We just want to provide a community and a network to provide a channel if there is relatability to the work that you want to do. But yeah, we are still very much figuring this out. I appreciated some of the feedback that sounded like we do have it figured out. We definitely don't. We're just experimenting and doing our best. We know that this type of work is necessary, and we're learning a lot from other groups and other organizations. But yeah, we're very much just in a beta mode, or yeah, just experimenting. But our plan is that over the next 6 months and years and onward, that we'll just get more organized. So thank you, Jenny, for sharing the form, and yeah, open for any other verbal feedback right now before we move on to the next point. Yeah, you could fill out that form right now if you were a multitasker and a keener, but you could also do it afterwards.
Yeah. So yeah, go ahead, Colin, lead us into the next one, maybe.
Yeah, so I want to talk about a couple of specific emergent projects that have kind of come out of our early explorations of bioregional organizing, which are an ecosystem restoration. We got a small ecosystem restoration grant that we're hoping to activate a shared governance experiment. So I'll talk a little bit more about that. And then the other item is we connected with a community leader in the Crow's Nest, David Thomas, who over the last year or so has been working on a pilot proposal for a watershed monitoring model that can be potentially expanded across the watershed. But I want to just share my screen and just show a couple images that yeah, maybe build on what this is the watershed. If you can see my screen, this is the watershed of the South Saskatchewan River Basin. Like Brenda said, all of our water, or the Continental Divide, is the green line that runs north to south. It's a small strip of mountainous land, which is basically the source of 90% of Southern Alberta's water, and each small creek flowing from each small headwater river valley turns into a larger tributary, and eventually into the main rivers that flow out of the headwaters. I've spent many hours, or yeah, lots of time tracing out all of the various key tributaries to the South Saskatchewan in this map using Google Earth, which is a very enlightening experience, tracing the water across the landscape. And I color coded kind of each watershed, starting at the south, which is the Belly River and the Waterton River and the Castle and Yarrow Creek, and then it moves up to the kind of darker shade or different shade of orange, which is the the Castle Crown area, and then through Bellevue, the thick line is the headwaters of the Crow's Nest River, and above that is the headwaters of the Old Man. And basically, each one of these is a community that we see as nested inside the larger sub-region of the South Saskatchewan. And this is the one of the basic principles of bioregional organizing, is that working from the small landscape features and communities that live in them and surround them, and have their own local issues and local leaders, and they can all connect back to a larger movement, but it's all fed by the watershed structures and the landscape structures. And really, those are two of the fundamental building blocks of life on Earth: water and soil and land. And so we see this as a key organizing principle. So I just want to share this as a graphic. So yeah, this is the South Saskatchewan in the northern areas, the Red Deer River. That's the upper limit watershed of the South Saskatchewan River Basin, and the Bow River is the blue line flowing through Calgary. Yeah, so like I said, one of the projects that we're working on is supporting this pilot project for a comprehensive watershed monitoring tool to be developed. This is being proposed by a group in the Crow's Nest Pass called Crow's Nest Headwaters. They're an informal group, but they've been taking the lead on this Rocky Mountain watershed monitoring model. And in my recent research and conversations, there is no comprehensive water monitoring model that is standardized and implemented across the landscape. The government of Canada has some long-term monitoring sites, but very few in the headwaters of the South Saskatchewan, and we basically don't know the impacts that land use decisions such as logging and recreation and coal mining and other land use activities are having on our headwaters and river systems. Like I said, there is some monitoring, but it's not standardized and it's not happening all the time. And one of the key needs for organizing, as Jenny mentioned in her organizing presentation, is monitoring, or like measuring success. And if we don't have a baseline, we don't know if we are succeeding or losing. And so, yeah, this is just one of the ways that we see bioregionalism happening, is one community leads a project that then can be replicated throughout other landscapes with the support of a larger kind of organizing effort. So I'm just going to share a different screen that is this little diagram that I drew just before the meeting that hopefully will help describe bioregional organizing as I'm potentially envisioning it. And I'll just say that these efforts are happening all over the world in their own unique ways, and our efforts are just one of many. But yeah, the idea is this is scalable and unique, but yeah, scalable yet unique to each bioregion across the world. And there's projects happening on every continent in small pockets, but it's definitely a growing movement that hopefully can counteract the neoliberal capitalist forces that we are all swimming in, as well as the impending ecological unraveling that is currently happening. Anyway, so I just put the headline bioregional organizing at the top, and then team and partners. I would say that the team is the active group that's growing and dynamic, that is actually doing organizing and the connecting that's Jenny's referring to. And then there's partners that are adjacent, that are connected to but not directly participating in the organizing efforts, but they overlap, and it's like, yeah, it's a very dynamic and interconnected system, not a hierarchy. This diagram may portray a hierarchy, but really it's It's hard to draw a non-hierarchical diagram, but maybe I'll get better at it as we go. But basically the team is made up of watershed community members, First Nations, environmental conservation nonprofits, business and industry, and municipalities such as towns, cities, and municipal districts. And that exists in every sub-region or bioregion, which I've represented by these small circles that are included in a larger circle. And each one of those, all of these different issues or sub-organizing themes, and I've only captured a few, but a few others that came up in the intros were politics, art, and yeah, many others, but water, food, recreation, and a few others. So yeah, that's maybe I'll just stop there and just like leave it open for, does this make sense to you? Do you have any questions? What comes up to you as I'm explaining this? I do a lot of thinking about this in my head and talking to Jenny and a few other people, but we really want to start getting these ideas out there and getting feedback. So I'm open to any feedback anyone might have.
Yeah, Colin, Colin, I think I can connect with what you are trying to figure out, like starting from pockets of little communities and then taking it out. That is how it is. You start from top bottom approach. Yeah, that really works, and you'll be able to do a lot. This is more like a rough model showing what you have in mind. It kind of makes sense. I think you might just give us some time to look at after today's meeting. So as we are putting up our form, we could also streamline some effort or some suggestions that we can also bring out to you. So I think there should be like a suggestion form, like a brainstorming session personally after the meeting, where we are able to retrospect on what has happened today and then give maybe some feedbacks back to you, because right now some of us are just getting to see like the concept of what you're bringing in. So just give us some time, maybe in the form. I don't know whether there's a space for contribution or things we might like to add, or we can just add it or send it as an email to you. Yeah, I think
No,
this will work.
that's great.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
in the
I'll
form, there is
yeah, go
the
ahead, Jenny.
last question. The last question is open to anything that we've missed. So yeah, use
Okay.
that question as a way to give feedback for these discussions. That'd be perfect. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Mike, you have your hand up?
Thank you. You mentioned that the federal government has got some water monitoring, sporadic though it might be, in the mountains or in the watershed. Which department is doing that? Fisheries and Oceans or Natural Resources?
No, sorry. It's the provincial government. And yeah, they have, there's a whole strategy that's been developed by the Alberta government back in 2003 called the Water for Life strategy, which created each major watershed, such as the Oldman and the Bow and the Red Deer, have what are called water advisory and participation councils, which are semi-governmental / community organizations. And then so that's like, this is kind of a nested version of the watershed. So those are the larger watersheds, and then each sub watershed, not everyone, but the larger ones, have what are called watershed stewardship groups. And the government provides them some funding, and the industry also provides them some funding to do watershed monitoring, and they're mandated to do state of the watershed reports every 5 years. But for example, the Bow River Basin state of the watershed report, the last one, numerous sub watersheds within the Bow River Basin cited limited data on key metrics such as temperature or E. coli or these different these different condition indicators. And it's a lack of funding and a lack of community coordination. And I would say, underfunding of this work of water, which is such an important piece, and limited data availability. So they have water portal on their website where you can go and look at some of this data, but across the province, it's the Alberta Water Portal, I believe. You can, if you Google that, it'll come up with a map, and then you can zoom in on different monitoring locations. But it's not comprehensive, and it's not standardized, and it's underfunded.
Not
And the
downhole.
headwaters, and it's surface, and there's different parts of the water, like Jenny's mentioning. There's the I'm having a brain fart here, but essentially the underground water,
The groundwater.
subsurface water,
The aquifers,
groundwater, and it's interconnected to a lot of specific issues such as gravel mining, or even just well water for landowners and communities. A lot of wells are drying up, a lot of wells are contaminated, and certain industrial uses of land are essentially sucking groundwater dry. And because we don't have the data, to community available data to show that that's happening, industry is able to get away with more than they should be. And so this is an argument for bringing it into the community, but I also think that government has a role to play. And this is where future discussions of, say, a sub group of bioregional organizing around water monitoring would be one project. But we want also projects on local healthcare, and also local invasive species. All these different things need sub organizing groups that are local, have local context. But sorry, that's a long-winded way of answering your question, but I hope
This might or might not be a little bit helpful. I know a retired science teacher who went to SAIT and took a class on water quality measurements, and then he got basic kit, and he went out and, as part of the course, actually went out and did, of course it was only surface water, but nonetheless that's what he was doing. And I wonder if that isn't a tiny door ajar to reach more people. I want to make one more comment about the organization chart. I like your organization chart. I like to describe those organization charts as flat. And I like to say that they're flat because they're held down by all the individuals with their individual needs standing on the top of the chart, as opposed to underneath holding the chart up. So we're looking after a bunch of individuals, and we have to collaborate, hence the flatness. And everybody's individual need is equal to everyone else's need and priority. And we just, we have to deal with that somehow. And sometimes we shake our heads, but too bad, that's what we have to do. And anyway, I like your chart. I really like the way your thinking is going. That's what it indicates to me, is the direction of the development of your thought. That's great. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Feels like we're heading in the right direction, but we don't have it figured it out. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, can I quickly add a comment? Like when you were saying that the provincial government, they have some data on water modeling. Most times they do this on large regional scale, but we need to know what is going on within different minor sport, localized sports within the region, because most times before we begin to notice certain reactions, it takes some time. So that's why what bioregional sampling is coming in, to take more localized action. Like most times, most of the modeling techniques and prediction, they are good, but we are trying to collaborate what the government already has, so we can also take ownership and localize most of these results. That is one of the things I envisage that we are also trying to do. Yeah, we are trying to make sure we have monitoring and compliance to be sure that the data on ground it's is in compliance with what we have on map, because most times when they do this large scale bioregional scaling, they just have it on ground. Oh, this is what we have. But when we take it you know, spot by spot and localized, we're able to quickly detect and, you know, jot down the impact we can notice from each, you know, communities that we are monitoring. I think that is where this bioregional network will really, you know, have a role to play. Yeah, because most times when there's a great impact, if we don't have things on ground localized, we might not be able to quickly detect and, you know, give a response. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree, and that's what I see on the Alberta monitoring style is they have key monitoring locations on key points on the major rivers, but and if they detect an issue or a, you know, high E. coli, for example, there, they know it's there, but they don't know the source because they're not sampling upstream. So that's one comment. And the other comment is one of the things that we're imagining and working on is how to fund this work, and in a bioregional way, because money is needed in order for livelihoods, and this is important work that needs to be done and it needs to be funded. But a lot of traditional funding structures from government and industry pool the resources in to large organizations that squander the money or are not effectively distributing the money, where we want to empower local communities. Like each one of these different colored watersheds could have its own water monitoring hub that employs a certain number of people to have a job going out and monitoring water quality. And this could be expanded to land and forest health and biodiversity, but you know, water is a key issue. And yeah, there's innovative financing and funding structures that are emerging that are not, they're more decentralized and not you know, the traditional systems of government giving a big chunk of money to a private corporation to undertake this work. It's how do we so yeah, I'll just summarize by saying we are using this small grant that we got for ecosystem restoration to pilot how to invite all stakeholders around a certain amount of funding and then leave it up to them of how to effectively and efficiently distribute it. And in doing so, practice that in order to be able to learn and scale how to receive larger amounts of money and distribute them transparently and efficiently to on the ground need for monitoring or restoration work. So yeah, thank you for your comments. Mike, I see your hand up, and
Yeah,
I encourage anybody else to use the raise hand function.
Jenny, I might know the answer to this. So the industries, the downhole industries, gas and oil, do they keep track of aquifers?
Yeah, they do. Absolutely. Because you have to make sure you have separation or you have a seal at the aquifer. So yes.
Is that information shared with government departments, or is it private, or what is it?
It is public. Yes.
Oh, okay.
But are they communicating with the watershed council groups?
No,
No.
not at all. No, I
There's
wouldn't
no
expect they are.
Yes, there's no integration of this information. There's two
Because that
separate.
might cost $1, so you don't want to do it. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. Well, you know, I think it's absolutely possible. It's something that I brought up though, so thank you for saying that. Because yeah.
Okay, and the other thing is wildlife support and sustainability data. Um, you know, we're going to have wildlife moving from range to range, and they're going to be migrating, and access to water is critical to wildlife. I'm just wondering if the wildlife associations and other people interested in wildlife are interested in joining this group. Anyway,
Yes, I can answer that real quick, or maybe not real quick, but we are in touch with
good.
CPAWS and AWA and other organizations. The summer is just a very busy time for them, or all the time is busy these days, especially reacting to this current provincial government's, you know, that whatever pops up every week. But an example, so me and Jenny originally connected about the Highwood logging. There was a bridge built in over the Highwood River to log one of these creeks that I talked about that essentially goes right up
Right.
to the Continental Divide, Loomis Creek, known by fishermen and just general people with ecological knowledge that is a sensitive bull trout and west slope cutthroat trout habitat. But because there's not open monitoring of that, essentially the logging company tried to just sneak this bridge in and not ask for permission to do it. Anyway, now CPAWS has raised $50,000 to undertake detailed studies of that specific creek, Loomis Creek, this summer to do eDNA sampling and essentially prove and like with solid ecological data that it is a sensitive bull trout and cutthroat trout habitat. And yeah, so that gives you a sense of scale. That tributary, $50,000 to do an intensive study. There's hundreds of those across the eastern slopes. We're looking at, eventually we want to have millions of dollars to do this work, but they had to essentially ask and beg for donations from the community in order to fund that work. But it shows that work is possible. And that's another thing I'll just point to is the eDNA testing, where you essentially can take a sample of water or soil and put it through a process that tells you what the biological diversity or what species are present there. That's becoming really cheap these days, but has to be sent to a lab at, say, the U of A. One of the things I envision is that every watershed or every major watershed has an ecological testing lab that has this technology, is able to do it among other technologies and other researching types. But yeah, these are critical data points that
quite,
we need.
quite a few years ago, the Federal Department of Fisheries and Oceans used to monitor water that ran to the ocean, and from where it began right through to the ocean. And I think I remember somebody trying to do something at Mire Lake, and they were really upset because Fishery and Oceans was being extremely stringent with them, and I said, well, too bad. And but I can't remember when that was exactly, but I believe that in the between then and now there was a change of federal government, and I think during that federal government that Fisheries and Oceans Authority was greatly restricted. So, but anyway, the point is that Fisheries and Oceans used to do that, and they used to have the people, the technology, et cetera, the whole infrastructure there to monitor. Anyway.
Yeah. Thanks for that. Well, on this point, I just wanted to kind of paint that picture to, plant some seeds about what
Yeah.
this is starting to look like, but there's so many other diverse possibilities. But where I'm at least personally challenged is, what are the structures for communicating and organizing with people like yourselves and, the hundreds and thousands of other people that we eventually want to bring into this. So I'm just gonna put out does anybody have any experience with any form of what's normally called customer relations management or CRM, customer relation management software, but I'll call it community relations software for tracking follow-up emails or responding to people. Does anybody have any suggestions on any tools that can be used for I would say email side of this, how because it's getting to be a lot.
I think MC could
Yeah, go
help
ahead,
us
Jenny.
with that. That's Mary Catherine with the energy circles. She worked in unions for a long time. So she has that way of building. It wouldn't be necessarily work structure, but people structure. I don't know if that's the same as what you're after, Colin.
You've brought up something else. I'm sorry, I'll quit hogging the conversation in a second here. So You've identified a clear issue that is a capacity that needs to be developed and delivered. And that's another thing that we need is a list of capacities. And so we have to work on what are we trying to do? What will it take to get that done? What are we trying to do? What will it take to get that done? And start listing those sets of capacities. And I think we might find in collaborating with other groups that some groups have some capacities, but not others. And you might actually be able to create a really cohesive, larger organization by listing capacities that people can apply their expertise to, and then other capacities that they can rely on that someone else is supplying. So
Yeah.
Anyway, just a thought.
Thanks for
Thank
that, Mike.
you.
Any other feedback from anyone?
I have a not fully articulated thought, but I think the word capacity is an important one because I think most people have limited capacity unless they're retired. And I know for myself, a lot of my work life is not paid or is paid not very well already. So I'm really looking at what are the things that I can do that where there's already kind of an opening with what I'm already doing. And I think to have some kind of way of documenting that at the individual and community level, like what are the quantifiable capacities happening at each node within an organizational structure. Don't know how that would be done, but maybe just building off of what I think Mike said. End of thought.
Yeah. Thanks, Rebecca. Yeah. And yeah, I also just think these larger meetings are great, and we're just starting to experiment with them. But I also there's so much richness that comes from a one-on-one conversation too. But you know, we all only have a limited number of time and energy to have certain conversations. So it's yeah, these are the questions that I'm, you know, toying with. But yeah, capacity and sharing capacities. Yeah. Definitely something there. Thank you. Anybody else? And we're also going to try to wrap up before 9 here. I appreciate all of your time and interest in this, but yeah. Jenny, do you want to move on to the next point?
Sure. Okay, I'm gonna wrap since we are trying to honor people's time, I'm gonna lump a couple things together here. So I didn't talk about the gravity well, but I'll just mention it now. So for those of you that didn't know, I am hosting a podcast this year. The initial scope of it was to use a complex decision-making course and organize conversations in a way where the focus was at least consistent for a time, because we have so many different things coming in. So the course, quite simply, offered the why, who, where, when, what, how of a problem. So each week I had a question that I asked in those 6 buckets, the 6 W's, if you will. So the first, we talked about why we were hosting the gravity well, so focused on the social, environmental, and economic crisis, trying to understand it in all of its forms. And so we worked through that this year, and we're continuing that. We've got the rest of the year pretty well scheduled right now to finish that off. But next year, I'm excited about what we're going to do, which is consistent with what Colin said Joe Brewer offers in the Bioregional effort, is learning journeys. So next year, instead of doing, we're still going to have the 6 whys as our header, but we're going to have learning journeys for each of those questions. So the first education session we're going to do is on behavioral science. So we had a guest that was in episode 2 and episode 24 last week. And he teaches self-regulation training at all levels from K to 12 and now to adults. So we're going to walk through the adult training program for educators. So from January to February next year, I'm going to be looking to education groups, healthcare organizations, anybody that cares about knowing our inner system, because we are a system. If we know how we operate, we can solve system problems much better. So we're going to lead with that course. And the way we're looking at this and talking with Colin is 5 courses, and then the 6th being, what did we take from these 5 courses? So we're going to build something off of these 5 courses. But so, as I said, on behavioral science, we're going to do a course on organizing for power. So the course that I took to help create this intake form in this presentation, that course, they offer groups to take it. So we'll audit it as a group and take it. And again, we're going to make this as open as possible to the public that we can in a webinar format. So we'll do it privately, but it can be shared for people that decide to take it with us, kind of thing. The other one we want to do is a Truth and Reconciliation course. So the U of A offers a really good one, Indigenous Canada. There's a course on bioregeneration that Colin is going to identify for us, and obviously parents and field coursework too for those that are interested in that. And then the last one is the course that we took. So the complex decision-making course that Colin and I, or that Alex and I took last year to get ready for this year, we're going to take that one as well. So again, that's that complex decision-making, systematic thinking, so that we can help move, like Colin said, from a hierarchical structural thinking to a dynamic return feedback loop system. So that's the plan for next year. I'm really excited about it. We might have different participants for each course, but we'll have a theme for each couple months and an ability to start organizing people towards those courses. So that's the long term. And then I'm going to couple that with some upcoming events just for you guys. So now just very near term. Actually, Colin, do you want to introduce these first 2, the Nose Hill Nature Walk and Crow's Nest Pass gathering?
Sure. Yeah, the Nature Walk is in many ways was the initial form of Land Lovers Network. Over the pandemic, I think it was Marilyn mentioned how the pandemic was such a, I don't know, time of lots of things happening, but also slowing down. And I spent a lot of time out on the land. Nose Hill is by my house. And so I feel like I gained a lot of personal and also collective insight just from being on the land. And a couple years ago, I started sharing those experiences with my friends and community, and they were really positive and generative experiences. Just going for a walk together, identifying plants, telling stories, just being out on the land together. And I think it's so important to do that, and a big part of the work that we want to do. And this summer, there's been a lot of things going on, and a lot of my life and work have been centered on the computer more than I would like, and more than it has been in previous years. So this is one of the few what I like to call nature appreciation walks that I will have hosted this year. Hopefully another 1 or 2 to come. But yeah, I encourage. This is just a local, just a sunset walk on Nose Hill, and you're welcome to join. Yeah, so that's that. I think the details are in the Land Lovers email, but maybe you're not all in the Land Lovers email, which after this meeting, I'll send a follow-up meeting with a link to the form and what Sadia suggested of some sort of feedback. But anyway, I'll include a link to this, the details of this walk. But we just basically meet at the Winter Club and go for a sunset walk. That's that. And then the next is the Crow's Nest Pass gathering. And so this is also part of bioregional organizing. Is what I would say. Yeah, and I've been learning from other groups doing bioregional organizing, and something I heard one of them say was really important and really stuck with me is it's important to be clear about bioregional organizing groups, or like certain people or individuals doing that, to be clear about being the interconnections and the weaver of other groups doing work, but not actually the ones doing the work. And so there's another group organizing a protest against the Grassy Mountain coal mine that the protest will be in Blairmore in the Crow's Nest Pass next Saturday. And yeah, this is a great opportunity for us.
This coming Saturday.
Sorry, yeah. Well, yes, right. The 14th. this upcoming Saturday. And it's a great opportunity to go and meet local leaders and other concerned people, and in many ways grow the connections and the relationships in other areas in our region that might not be able to get to every day. And then my hope is to host a casual community conversation after the protest. So the protest will be very much standing on the sidewalk or the side of the road, kind of showing a voice of the community, but maybe not a lot of time for conversation. And my hope is to invite whoever's interested to come for a conversation afterwards about, okay, we protested, but like now what, or what relationships and conversations might bear fruit or lead to more long-term sustained action. So you can find that event on the Facebook page, but it's basically in Blairmore on Main Street outside of the North Back office, starting at 11:30, I believe. And a few of us are attending a site tour hosted by the company that is pursuing building the coal mine. So it's kind of funny. We're going on a company tour, and then we'll be protesting the same company afterwards. So it should be interesting.
I'm
so
doing
encourage you-
reconnaissance
anybody-
work
yeah.
on the plans for reclamation. I want to know what North has in mind in terms of restoration. That's my goal on that tour. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So Brenda, I don't know if it's possible for us to connect with you down in Crow's Nest, but that would be amazing. We will be there on Saturday.
Yeah, I was just, hello, oh yeah, there I am, I'm up. Yeah, I'll pop down and see you. We're going on a tour as well with North Back, the Crow's Nest Conservation Society. So one of the things you might want to read before you go is the executive summary from the joint hearing you can just go like joint hearing, Grassy Mountain, executive summary, because whatever they say about reclamation, the AER said last time, 100 years, if not longer, if ever, would they get it back. So just when we go, we're trying to not be argumentative, because we would like to get as much data as we can for what we're going to say at the hearing. We want to know. They've sort of claiming they're not making any new roads. I don't know if that's on their private land or also on public land, or they're not taking down any limber pines. They kind of sound like, and we're only allowed to discuss the exploration at the hearing. You can't discuss the actual mine. It's just a hearing about exploration. So as though nothing will happen after, right? So yeah, anything that you get that twigs with you when he speaks, boy, send me something and give me because we're going to be doing it thereafter. But if there's something that twigs with you, give me a shout.
Yeah, we'll give you the summary after our tour, so you can, a 1-2 punch. But that's maybe bad language. We don't want to be
we're passing the baton. That's all we're doing is passing
the baton.
Yeah, it's not so much that, it's like something he says, you go, well, that's not going to be good for the water, and we miss it. Like, I don't know.
Right.
If there's anything you think could be used at the AER hearing to say why they shouldn't get to explore, not a mine, about exploration, that would be awesome. Thanks.
100%. Thank you. Okay, just quickly, there's a few other things. This month is busy. It's September. So we're hosting a double screening night. I'll just hit send on the link here in the chat. So on September 21st, it's 2 movies. They're very positive. One's called Water is Love, and the other is called Outgrow the System. So here in Calgary, if you're here, and the idea being we're just no pressure, just watch the films, let them soak. Like Sadia said, it's nice to take time to soak, but we are going to do a panel discussion afterwards with just some highlights from some organizations. As you mentioned, Mike, we want to show the organizations that we're working with. So we're trying to make sure there's some representation there as well. So so please, any of you, if you wish to attend, just go ahead and join. And if you wish to be a part of the panel, please let us know. We'd love to have you in that. And then on World Rivers Day, which is September 27th, so the following Friday, I'm interviewing Lauren Fitch, Kevin Van Tighem and Colin Smith on the gravity well. So I'll put that link in the chat here as well. So that one, we're going to be talking about what the alternatives, what are the alternatives to what the Alberta government is doing, and how can we start turning the ship around? What are the ways to look at that? So I'll put that link in here as well for you to watch. And a couple more from you, Colin, and then we'll probably call that enough. Yeah.
Yeah, these were just a couple events I came across that I send out these irregular maybe land lovers updates, and yeah, they include events that might be of interest to folks like us. They include the Calgary Climate Hub is planting a Miyake mini forest on September 28th, which is a Saturday at the Genesis Center in Calgary. That'll be their 4th mini forest, I believe. And yeah, just another local biodiversity hands-on project. And yeah, bioregionalism talks about like landscape or like, big landscape scale, but it all does start with a single little plot of land, and these Miyake forests are a good way to get involved. So you can go to Climate Hub website and find more on that. And then similar to that, the Elbow River Watershed have saved the dates for restoration days out in the Elbow River Watershed near Bragg Creek on similar dates, September 27th and October 5th, with more details to come. So if you're interested in joining the Land Lovers mailing list, shoot me an email, or I'll include a link in the follow-up to this meeting. Yeah, and there's many other events, but fall is a good time or there's lots of ecosystem restoration projects happening, hosted by a lot of those watershed stewardship groups that I mentioned earlier. There's probably many other events, but those are the ones that I've captured. So, and yeah, yeah, I think we can leave it there. Feels like we've covered a lot of ground, and thank you for your participation. Jenny, do you have any closing thoughts? Or yeah, Mike, I see you raised your hand.
Yeah, I
Mike,
just wanted
you
to
go
offer
first,
any.
and then I'll pass it. Yeah.
I saw Marie joined
Yeah.
us as well. If she had any questions before we closed out, we're happy to answer. And Aaliyah as well. It's nice that you joined us. So go ahead, Mike.
I'm going to end on what I think is a positive note, cheering note, energize us all. I've done some advocacy and gone to governments at all levels, and I have to say that we went in with the idea when we were advocating of not telling the government what to do, but of getting to meet people who had actual experience, who were living the experience that we were trying to change, that we were trying to create a transition from what they were doing to something better. And all we did was said, here's the problem with their situation. This is what they're dealing with. And then, is there anything? And governments have incredible capacity to do stuff. And all we need to do is we need to flip the switch to on. And yes, we're here to help. And contrary to Ronald Reagan, they are there to help. They can be there to help, and they can make a huge positive difference because they have incredible capacity. And what our experience was that we had MLAs or MPs or senior departmental figures looking people eye to eye, face to face in real life meetings, and changes happened. They just happened. And it was all kind of below the radar. It was no big deal. And yeah, that's what we're here to do. And yeah, we're happy to help. And everybody walked away happy. Remember that governments have an incredible capacity to help.
Thank you for reminding me, Mike. Dash and I had a conversation on Friday last week, and she has an initiative around this because they are hosting an event on October 27th. So I'll just say thank you for saying that, because I was trying to relay to her what you offered. Yes, we need to connect. We need to not assume with the government, that a simple
Okay.
conversation from direct people could actually impart change directly. So yes, I love that there's somebody working that angle for us. Hey, Dash, did I say that okay for you?
Brilliant. And I think that that's part of what our obligation is as citizens and groups of citizens, is to challenge government and to, as Jenny really articulately said in that conversation, to provide a path, to see a way through, right? That's what happened when you went and saw leaders and said, this is what's going on. And they said, oh, we can work on that, right? The problem we have in Alberta is that the government do not want to help. They only have self-interest agenda, and that's
I
why they
have
need
to
to go.
interrupt. I have to interrupt, Dash, because we met with the Klein government, who were and they were just in the beginning of the harshest part of their austerity program. And we introduced people person to person, and it wasn't, we made no political statements. We made no accusations. We just said, here's an issue and these people are struggling to live. And here's the specifics of their situation. We don't know what you can do. You know what your government can do. We don't know what you can do. We have no idea what all the capabilities of your government are, what all the capacities are. And we're just here. And the response was incredible. It was actually, of all of the cases we brought, it was 100%. They didn't omit one, not one. And there was 100 cases. So
Well, that's
not,
excellent. But Danielle Smith is no Ralph Klein, and they
no,
are
we
not
didn't.
conservatives. I'm just saying to you that this is an unusual situation, and it is not business as usual. I completely agree with you that that's what government is supposed to do, and that's what we need to pressure them to do. Be responsive, right? Um, right now, what's going on with AISH and with people with disabilities and students that need supports for assorted learning challenges and whatnot, it's staggering the abuse that's going on. The removal of care levels for seniors, like, we're not talking about the same sort of government. That is why they need to be stopped. I completely agree with you about capacity. It's not because they can't, it's because they won't. And that's the point that we're pushing, because they will not do what is needed. And they are failing Albertans every day right now, every day. I'm very appreciative of your optimistic view, because it is important to remember that it's very hard to be buoyant in this kind of situation, but that's where we're coming from. And really, our campaign is about, have you had enough? Are you willing to stand up, wave, use your voice, use your whatever you have, and challenge these people, because they do not deserve to be utilizing government resources the way they are and exploiting Alberta. They're selling it off piece by piece every chance they get. You know, like, back to the conversations about this organizing. They're not keeping data, because then there's no problem, right? No data, no problem. Well, you don't track the water. Well, oh, look at it, it's just a bunch of poop here, you know? It's it's blatant, and it's unfortunately not just Danielle Smith or just the UCP. There's the International Democratic Union. Sorry to get political on you here, but people say, oh, they're following the Trump playbook. They're not. They're following the IDU playbook, and it's Hungary and Putin and all that. It's horrible, right? So, sorry to be on the
I realize that we have
challenging side.
the president emeritus of that union living just outside of Calgary. So anyway,
Yeah, no, well, and it's so important that for those 100 people that got changes, like, that's the standard that we need, and that's what we are challenging them to. We need to be pushing them to accept, right? So just briefly, we're organizing for the return of the legislature. The fall sitting begins with the speech from the throne on October 28th. On Sunday, the 27th, we're going to be at the legislature back on the North Steps at 2 p.m. And so that's That's what we're organizing now. And then the following week, we're still finalizing plans about how we'll be following up. But this is what Jenny mentioned in terms of making meetings and getting these issues on the table, because the UCP is not, right? And to what you're saying as well is to bring it up, and to, if they're not responsive, which we anticipate they will not be, because that's every signal from them, then we have more fodder for the media, whether the mainstream media are covered or not. We're able to produce our own basically now, right? So, it's not, there's major advantages when mainstream media pick it up, but if they refuse, then we have other routes that we have to pursue. So sorry, that's not very encapsulated version.
Thank you. Yeah, please keep us in the loop. I'm happy to support that, and I will be up there on October 27th for that event for sure. Oh, awesome, Rebecca. On September 22nd. Awesome.
Awesome. Yeah, that's another thing I think we could use as a way to like,
Bring in
yeah,
your
how do
yeah.
we share events effectively? Like, obviously social media is good for that, but it's also a system that is designed to distract us and is a bunch of garbage. How can people just input events and then they get out to our community is another thing that I've been thinking about. No answers needed right now, but yeah, I think with that we'll wrap it up. Maybe me and Jenny might stick around for a bit, but I just let feel free to leave. We appreciate your attendance and participation tonight, and being our feedback and helping us work through some of these and experiment, and even just hosting these meetings is a learning experience in itself. So yeah, thank you. Jenny, I'll pass it back to you for any closing thoughts, and then we, if anybody wants to come back or stick around and pick our brains about something specific, that don't feel like you need to stick around, but we'll be here for a couple minutes.
Yeah, I'm complete. I'm just, super grateful. Thank you guys for experimenting with us, and feedback, please, in any way, shape, or form you want to send it. And like Colin said, send us your dates. For the time being, we do have our campaign, which we can put your events up in. If there's something that you want to share across the groups, we can at least share it that way, or using the Land Lovers Colin's email blast. So at least for now, that's how we'll do it. So, but yeah, please share your things too, because I apologize for not catching that one, Rebecca. Thank you.
Thanks for being so open with your organizing. It's really refreshing.
Thank you, Dash. I have to say, I said this to or I shared the initiative. So just if I can leave you with something positive, to me, it's the organizing power of unions with the activism and advocacy of environmental organizations. That's, to me, that's the 1-2 punch that I think will make us unstoppable. So it's just a matter of organizing and having repeatable organization that will make it something that is believable and repeatable and serving all of us, right? Awesome. Thank you, Rebecca.
Thanks for being here, Rebecca, and everybody. But nice to see you. Yeah, take care. And I saw Alan in the background there. Tammy, hi to Alan. Hey, Alan. And yeah, thanks, Ben, everybody. Hillary had some feedback that the intros is at the beginning, it's great, but it also takes up a lot of time. And we might be able to streamline that with in the chat or something in the future, just in the future for if we want to just get to a specific topic or organizing thing in a meeting. But
yeah, good point. What we could be doing is having our participants in a document, and anybody who's new can add their name and introduce themselves at that point.
Yeah, like a running Word document for the
Well, like a tab, I'm picturing a tab in that spreadsheet, the organizing
Oh, yeah.
spreadsheet
Yeah.
that I've got going.
Yeah.
Are you guys
Kind of
planning
like
to
a
be like,
program,
go ahead,
What's
sorry?
that?
kind of like a program, you know, like the participants program, bios, for lack of a better, if I'm following.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's the
like hold
introduction
everybody's
chapter.
bio, right? So that everybody doesn't have to do it every time, but we can, because I did have people reintroduce themselves this week. So yeah, definitely save some time there.
Yeah. I like it, but it takes a lot of time. Yeah.
How many people
Uh,
were at the last meeting?
About this, right? Maybe a little more?
Maybe a few more, 25, and then some people will have to leave early and some people join late. So it's a bit an ebb and flow. Um, and I think, Zoom's great for this, but we also want to host in-person meetings that are more facilitated and maybe structured around like a bioregional 101 kind of workshop, say one in the Crow's Nest and one in High River and Okotoks and Red Deer, kind of pollinating the bioregional thinking into the landscape as the first round, and then trying to establish community leaders. And but yeah, we're not experts in bioregionalism at the moment, so there's other groups that are hosting more of learning journeys online and things. So we're not exactly sure where it's going to go, but we feel like we're on the right track, and there was a lot of positive feedback tonight. So yeah, Mark,
thought it was great.
yeah, thanks, Dash. Mark, you had a question?
Yeah, there's a lot of partisan comments tonight. So I'm just thinking, how do we plan to navigate that? Is it bioregional governance beyond left and right? Or like
Yeah,
I was trying to,
we've
yeah, I was wondering about that. And even the organizational structure, is there going to be a hierarchy or is it flat to all those departments? I'm just curious if you're open to restructuring that too. Um, how do the indigenous structure that stuff? Are we copying what they're doing? I'm just curious.
no, it's all emergent. Ideally no hierarchy, but yeah, there's hierarchy and then there's decentralized, and the answer is likely somewhere in the middle. Every time I haven't, yeah,
Hierarchy cycles, let's call it that.
Yeah. Yeah.
but on the partisan issue, I think there's a certain well, maybe I'll just say it this way, that we've used water and the land as our central topics because they're fundamental issues, but they also break, you can talk to anybody on any side of the political spectrum about it. But I would say the way I envision bioregionalism organizing itself as a parallel structure to traditional national and provincial and regional governance structures that can inform and work alongside, but they're independent of existing legacy government institutions. But these are inherently political issues, and a lot of power lies in the political system, as was mentioned tonight. So yeah, those are things that are going to have to be navigated as we proceed.
Yeah, I personally see it as two halves of the globe, Mark. Like we have the one half of the globe, which is the bioregional organizing, and we have the original half of the globe that needs to be decomposed, if you will. So I think it's inevitable that those things come up, and we have to address them for what they are from a shared interest, shared value perspective. That's to me how we address the left and right issues.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah. Because I would love to cross that divide because I think it's going to get contentious. And when people are in meetings like this, they don't say what their real values are, especially in partisan settings. So we're all filling it out. And there's got to be a way to have meetings where you can be authentic but not factionize. And that's a tough thing to do. But we're doing the same thing too. We're solving those problems with that universal logic and all that stuff that's pretty radical. But if you want it to be totally emergent, then I didn't want to inject too much in tonight. So I just was totally just sitting back and not, not getting in there. But yeah, I really like what I heard today. It's continuing that openness. And I love that you said it's kind of like this between hierarchy and cycles. Like it feels really what we call sublative. It feels very wise. So if there's something I can do to supercharge that, I filled out the intake form already really hardcore. So that's where I took all my hardcoreness. I put it on the form tonight. So enjoy reading that tonight, Colin. Or I don't know which one of you is going to read it, but
That'd be me, yeah.
That'd be Jenny, yeah.
yeah, I packed it.
But yeah, thank you for being here. Thank you for putting your hardcoreness in it. And yeah, I think part of the emergence is also, cross-pollination and non-prescriptiveness, but there's also where you have to hold certain values as well to like with some form of wisdom to know when you might be crossing a line that might take you down a path that is not the effective one for what we're trying to do. So yeah, these are all things that need to be navigated as we go.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
I would say like in this meeting, these organizational meetings, I'm not anticipating for the near term anyway that we're going to be at odds with people. To me, this is a space where people understand where we're headed and what we're trying to do. But that being said, as you heard, we have to organize against current system that's in place. So to me, those meetings, when we have to engage with those conversations, I think that's where some of your work, Mark, would be mutually beneficial. So think about, if you think of that conversation that I now in that form, how would you have those questions answered from somebody who isn't like us, right?
yeah, I would like there's a certain order to things, at least in the systems that we're working in. So the categories are right, but they're supposed to be nested in each other because they're like a tree of knowledge is supposed to grow into more complex departments. And then it all makes sense, right? Like when one is affected, they all are affected up and down. And then you start getting that equality feeling in the structure. So I saw that you had the right categories. Like we have departments for those things too, but the order is really important, or else the sense making breaks down. You start getting these weird governments like we currently have that like aren't organic. They're like these mechanical, choppy, rigid, within themselves, they're decoherent, right? Even government employees are frustrated and angry right now. So we want to solve that problem, like kind of out from the outset. And that's an organizational sorting problem. So I could really kind of like insert some of what we're trying to practice here that seems to be working. I just want to accelerate things like pretty quick. And I will try and answer those questions that you sent me. I was going to try and do it tonight, but I was like, oh, everybody was being really like nice and sharing. So I was like, oh, that'll take too long if I try and answer all 5 questions. So I thought it was a good opener, and I want them to happen more often, not wait too long. But yeah, maybe we can meet one-on-one and dive into it more if you guys are interested.
Yeah, that'd be good.
So okay, well, maybe I'll let you guys off. And I just wanted to say, Colin, nice beard game. I really enjoy a good beard. So
thank you. Back at you
right now. What's that?
That's all good. I said back at you, but yeah, it just gets more and more reckless. You got to tame it.
Well, this is
but
hunger
yeah.
strike beard. I'm preparing to go in for a 10-day dry hunger strike in about
Wow.
in probably 14 days. So that's where this came
I wish
from.
you all the best and strength and endurance in that.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Appreciate you. All right, we'll talk again soon, hopefully.
Thank you, Mark. Talk
Yeah,
to you soon.
take care, Mark.
All right, peace out.
One more thing I wanted to add, that enough is enough is nonpartisan, and our criticism, and certainly my criticism of the UCP, is not about right, left, up, down. It's about competence and ethics and their
And
agenda
absolutely
and
the wrong
priorities.
direction. Let's be honest.
Yeah, exactly. For all those reasons. So, yeah, it's just.
Yeah, it's hard not to label what it is. It's a UCP government. That's what it is. But at the end of the day, the federal government is also letting us down in terms of upholding land use laws too. So this is a nonpartisan problem. This is a cross-party political problem. So.
Yeah, and we're looking for what works, not who agrees or what way you can label it, right? Like that's part of the problem. It's like right wing, left wing. It's like you look at a bird that only has one wing. They're not going anywhere, right?
Right.
At best it's going to be a circle and they're going to get eaten by somebody. So, it's just not. It's not a logical thing, but neither is capitalism in its end stage, and here we are. So
Yeah, interesting times to say the least. Yeah, thank you
Yeah.
so much. That's awesome.
thank you so much,
Yeah.
folks. It's been great.
Yeah,
I'm going to
thank you
sign
for
off for
participating.
now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay,
take care.
And nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Okay,
We'll
bye for now.
take care.
Marie, I
Okay.
want to make sure we answer any questions that we could have for you as well. I know you said you'll have an update after tomorrow, but if there's anything you want to say before, since we didn't get to hear from you, it'd be great. Oh, if you're speaking, we can.
Marie did mention she was having some sound problems.
Oh,
We
okay.
saw that you unmuted Marie, but we can't hear you.
That's too bad.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you, Colin, that we did a little bit of improvising there, which worked, I think. Hey.
Yeah. And the positive feedback is real, reinforcing that we're on the right track, which is nice.
Excellent. Hey, Leah, can
Yeah.
you say a few words? Did you catch any? Do you have
Yeah.
any thoughts for us?
Hi, Jenny. Hi, everybody. No, no,
Okay.
I'm good.
Did we
but-
let you down? It would be really harsh if you were like, yeah, you guys blew it. That was ridiculous.
No, absolutely not. It was really nice to hear I missed the beginning and I have a lot of questions, but I will get caught up, I'm sure. I also have an idea for I think I can make your collaborative calendar of reality.
Ooh, yay.
Awesome. I look forward to talking more about that.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Me too.
Well,
Yeah.
Maria, I wish we could hear you because, we'd love to connect further about Claire's home. But if you can hear us, just we would love to participate in any future events that the Chinook Watershed crew is planning on hosting. And would love to even collaborate on a Bioregional 101 in Claire's home because Claire's home is the epicenter of the Willow Creek sub basin, and I think as we saw in that meeting, there was a lot of energy there. So I'll follow up. I saw you sent me an email, so we'll be in touch.
Yeah.
And Tammy, I think you already logged off. So this is like Ghost Tammy or something.
I think so. There were two
Yeah.
versions.
All right. Well, 9:00, 9:01. I'm glad
Beauty.
we finished a bit early. Yeah. Thanks, Jenny.
Yeah,
Thanks,
thank you
everybody.
too. Have a good rest of your
Yeah,
night.
we'll be in touch.
Sounds good.